The first time I felt something was off, the sky didn't just look dark, it looked angry. I've been working as a cemetery supervisor for a while now. Most people just call me the manager. My job is simple on paper: meet families, help them arrange burials, sell plots, and make sure everything runs smoothly on the day of the funeral. But some days don't go the way they're supposed to. A few months ago, a man came to see me. His name was Daniel. Early 30s, quiet, deeply emotional, but trying hard to stay strong. His father was in hospice, and he knew what was coming. Daniel spoke slowly, like every word mattered. He showed me a photo of his dad on his phone, smiling, full of life. Honestly, he didn't look like someone who should be planning a funeral anytime soon. But life doesn't really care about what feels fair. We sat together for almost an hour. He picked out a plot, asked careful questions, and made sure everything would be perfect. You could tell he wasn't just doing paperwork. He was preparing to say goodbye. By the end of that same week, his father passed. The funeral was scheduled almost immediately. That day, the weather turned bad out of nowhere. Heavy winds, dark clouds, rain hitting the ground so hard it sounded like static. Some people believe storms during funerals are a sign of peace or that the soul is being carried away. I don't know about that. But I'll say this, the whole place felt different. The procession arrived late afternoon. I stepped outside under the front awning as the hearse pulled in. Right behind it was Daniel's car. He saw me and gave a small nod. I nodded back. No words, just understanding. The rain kept getting worse, so I stepped back inside and waited until they were ready to move to the burial site. Once they started heading deeper into the cemetery, I grabbed one of the work trucks and followed behind. By the time we reached the grave, the wind was cutting through everything. I stood there with an umbrella, doing my job, watching, making sure everything stayed on track. The service didn't last long. People were soaked, shivering. One by one, they left. Daniel was the last to go. Or at least, I thought he was. After everything wrapped up, I did what I always do, drove a few rounds through the cemetery, just checking the grounds. It's routine, quiet, usually uneventful. Then I went back to the office: paperwork, reports, the usual pile waiting for me. Time passed faster than I expected. Before I knew it, it was closing time. The cemetery shuts down at 5:30, and by then it was already getting dark, thanks to the storm. So I took the truck out one last time, drove slowly through every section, headlights cutting through the rain, making sure no visitors were still around. Everything looked empty. Too empty. Satisfied, I headed toward the main gate to lock up. And that's when I noticed something in the rearview mirror. For just a second, I thought I saw a figure standing near the fresh grave we had buried earlier. I hit the brakes. The truck stopped. Rain slammed against the windshield as I stared into the mirror again. But this time there was nothing there. That night didn't feel like March. It felt like something was trying to hide in the dark. The air was warm, yeah, but the sky was wrong. Way too dark for that time of evening. By the time my shift was ending, it already looked like midnight. The storm hadn't stopped for hours. Rain kept slamming everything, and the wind made this low, constant noise that just wouldn't go away. I was heading back to the office in my truck, ready to finally finish up and lock the place down. That's when I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. Someone was walking fast between the graves. Not just walking, almost rushing. I slowed the truck and turned my head to get a better look. The figure moved down one of the narrow lanes, then quickly slipped behind a tall hedge, and just like that, gone. Hey! I honked the horn once, loud enough to echo through the cemetery. We're closed! No response. I waited a few seconds, expecting them to step back out or at least react. Nothing. Something about it didn't sit right. I parked the truck, grabbed my umbrella, and stepped out into the rain. Within seconds, my shoes were soaked. The wind pushed the umbrella sideways as I hurried toward the spot where I saw the person disappear. I reached the hedge and turned around it. There was a long stretch ahead, graves lined up neatly on one side, thick hedges on the other. No place to hide, no turns, no exits nearby, and no person. I walked down that path slowly, scanning every corner, then faster. Then I checked the other rows nearby. My heart started beating harder, not from running, but from confusion. I spent nearly 20 minutes out there in the rain. Nothing. Not a single sign of anyone. At that point, I told myself I probably imagined it. Maybe it was just the rain, shadows, my eyes playing tricks. Still, it didn't feel like that. I went back to the office, dripping wet, and sat down at the monitor desk. We've got CCTV cameras covering most of the cemetery, so I pulled up the footage from a few minutes earlier. I watched carefully. Rewind. Play. Pause again. Nothing. No figure. No movement. Just rain hitting the camera lens and darkness swallowing everything else. The storm made it harder to see, sure, but there should have been something. I leaned back in my chair, uneasy, but I still had work to finish. So I split my attention, one eye on the screens, the other on my paperwork. That's when it happened. BNG. The sound was so loud it echoed through the entire building. The visitation room door slammed shut. I jumped up instantly, my chair rolling back behind me. "Hello," I called out, my voice louder than I expected. For a second, I actually felt relieved. It's that person, I thought. They must have gotten locked in. I stepped out into the lobby quickly, expecting to see someone standing there, maybe confused, maybe asking for help. But the lobby was empty, completely empty, no footsteps, no movement, no sound except the storm outside, and the visitation room door was now slightly open again. The moment our eyes met, I knew I shouldn't still be there. I stood frozen in the lobby, rain tapping hard against the windows, the visitation room door slowly creaking behind me. My voice came out again, weaker this time. "Hello?" No answer. For a second, I tried to be rational. Maybe someone had been inside and just left. Maybe the door slammed because of the wind. It all had to make sense. It always does. So I started checking the windows one by one. The first few showed nothing, just darkness, rain, and faint reflections of the room behind me. But then I reached the window facing the side of the building, and my whole body locked up. There was someone standing outside. Right there, close to the glass, just staring at me. His face had no expression, no anger, no sadness, nothing. Just blank. Still, watching. I stumbled back so fast I nearly fell, a scream slipping out of my mouth before I could stop it. But the man didn't react, didn't move, didn't even blink. My breathing got heavy as I forced myself to step closer again, slowly this time. My eyes narrowed, trying to make sense of what I was seeing through the rain and dim light. And then it hit me. I knew that face. Not personally, but I had seen it before. In photos. The same photos a man named Raphael had shown me days ago while planning his father's burial. Same eyes, same face, same person. My chest tightened so hard it actually hurt to breathe. "No, that's not possible," I whispered under my breath. Before I could think, I rushed toward the front door, swung it open, and ran outside into the storm. Rain instantly soaked through my clothes as I turned toward the exact spot where he had been standing. Nothing. No footsteps. No figure walking away. No one hiding nearby. Just empty space and the sound of rain hitting the ground. I looked around in every direction, spinning slowly, trying to catch even the smallest movement. But there was nothing to find. It was like he was never there. After a few seconds, panic started to take over. Not loud panic, but the quiet kind that makes your chest feel tight and your thoughts messy. I didn't search this time. I didn't go back out into the cemetery. I just turned around, walked quickly back inside, and shut the door behind me. That was enough. I grabbed my bag, didn't even bother finishing anything else, and locked up the office. My hands felt slightly shaky as I made my way to the gate, opened it, drove through, and locked it again behind me. The whole drive home felt longer than usual. Too quiet. Too heavy. When I got inside, my wife looked at me and immediately asked, "Why are you so quiet?" I forced a small shrug and avoided her eyes. "Just a long day," I said. And that was it. I never told her what I saw. Even now, I try to explain it in a normal way. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe the storm messed with my vision. Maybe my brain filled in something that wasn't really there. But no matter how I try to reason it out, I can still see that face clearly, standing in the rain, watching me, like he never left. My name is Lucas. It was late October, the kind of night where the wind feels like it's sneaking through the cracks of every old building. I live in a worn-out town, the kind that looks frozen in time, narrow cobblestone streets, shuttered windows, and buildings that probably haven't been touched since the 1700s. Me and my friend, Max, were restless that night. Bored out of our minds, we decided to do something reckless, wander the streets at 3 in the morning. Yeah, I know, not the smartest idea in a place like this, but we're both thrill seekers. We had been cruising around earlier, blasting our favorite metal tracks, letting the music echo through the empty streets. Eventually, that got boring. "Let's do something different," Max said, smirking. I knew exactly what he meant. Behind the old town square lies the cemetery, the kind of place that stretches endlessly on both sides of the highway, a solid 40 acres of silent, crumbling history. We had never dared to explore the older section, the one fenced off with rusted iron gates and twisted vines crawling over it. That night, curiosity won. We pushed open the gate and stepped inside. The air was heavy with the smell of damp earth and decay. Graves, some leaning, some cracked and covered in moss, stared back at us like forgotten memories. I couldn't resist snapping photos, crouching down to read inscriptions that had barely survived a century of weather. We laughed, nudged each other, daring the night to scare us. After an hour of aimless wandering, we collapsed beneath a massive pecan tree that had stood there longer than the town itself. The wind rustled its leaves, and for a moment the cemetery felt peaceful, almost serene. Then I heard it. A faint giggle, high-pitched like a child's, coming from somewhere just behind the tree. I froze. Max looked at me, his grin fading. "Probably some toy or something," he said. But the sound was too clear, too alive. It wasn't a recording, it wasn't the wind, it was closer, too close. We laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. Creepy, right? Max whispered. "Book, kind of awesome." And then, just like in every nightmare you've ever tried to ignore, I felt it, eyes on me. Not the distant, half-imagined kind, but the heavy, pressing kind, like something was standing right behind me, just waiting. I turned slowly. The air was still. The cemetery stretched endlessly in the darkness. The laughter had stopped, but I could feel it, watching. I tried to shake it off, telling myself my mind was just playing tricks, maybe the wind or the shadows. But Max froze beside me and whispered, voice barely audible, "Lucas, I think I see someone over there." I followed his gaze to a small patch of woods bordering the cemetery. The darkness between the trees looked too deliberate, too still. Something or someone was standing just beyond the edge of the graves. My stomach sank. That's when we both realized we weren't just creeped out anymore. We were in real danger. We stood up slowly, hearts hammering, trying to convince ourselves to be rational. Then it happened again. That same high, pitched, chilling giggle, echoing across the cemetery like it had followed us from the tree. And then leaves crunching under unseen footsteps. Someone or something was moving toward us. Without thinking, we bolted. Down the steep hill leading to the older section, toward my car. My legs burned with every step, adrenaline screaming through me. The laughter seemed to chase us, bouncing off the gravestones, never letting up. I didn't stop. Neither did Max. The fear had thrown us into pure fight, or flight mode. By some miracle, we reached the car. I yanked the door open, jumped in, and slammed it shut. The engine roared to life, and I pulled onto the highway without even looking. The night swallowed us as we sped away. We didn't stop until we reached the only gas station open at this hour, its fluorescent lights flickering weakly over the deserted lot. My hands were shaking as I swung open the trunk to check it, half expecting to find something terrible waiting for us. The back door was open. I froze. Max stared at it in disbelief. Neither of us had touched it. There was no reason for it to be open. I checked the seats. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But that sense of being watched didn't leave. I climbed back in, slammed the door, and hit the gas. We didn't look back. Even now, I can't explain that night. Maybe we overreacted. Maybe it was all in our heads. But every time I tell the story, same prickling sensation, the weight of eyes on my back, the echo of a laugh that shouldn't exist, and the certainty that something followed us that night.